I'm David Kohlmeyer, the founder of the Las Vegas Legal Network. The reason why I started the Legal Network is that I noticed that consumers were looking for lawyers and they didn't know what to look for, who to call, where to go. My goal was to create the Legal Network in Las Vegas to help people find the right lawyer to help them depending upon their legal case. I'm not an attorney. This is a lawyer referral network that is helping people get the right lawyer when they need it the most. We offer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where we have lawyers in the network ready and available to help people, whatever their situation or whatever their problem is. Whether they got arrested, an accident, injured, family law cases, whatever legal matter, the Las Vegas Legal Network is here to help people in Clark County.
My son Josh and I work together. It's a great relationship.
There's no competition.
Competition? No competition.
I mean, obviously I'm the better choice.
I'm more experienced.
I can remember all my passwords.
I've won more cases.
Of course, he's had a few more years than I have.
I'm proud of Josh.
I'm proud of my dad.
Now, how do I log back in? The Richard Harris Law Firm, 444-4444, just in case.
And the other person could have, let's say, a red mark or a scratch. Hey, this is David Kohlmeyer, the Problem Solver. Thanks so much for joining us today. Tuesday, 6 p.m. We're here and talking about different community problems. As a retired police officer for 17 years, my goal is to talk about community problems, how to solve them, and give a little bit of information to you guys so that you guys can make some wise choices out there in Las Vegas, Henderson, and North Las Vegas. So thank you so much for joining the show today. My co-host, Danny Miner, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
So just to recap, I'm a retired police officer for 17 years. Danny's got 27 years, both more from the East Coast, even though originally I did policing in New York City and you did it in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And I was a police officer before I retired in Henderson, so I do know more about the local community. But I wanted to talk today about interaction with the police and use of force of issues because it's coming up a lot in general in the news, right?
Yeah, I agree, Dave. The interaction with the police is getting escalated to the problem where police are having to use deadly force. And I think today's topic would be good of how to interact with the police, what you should do if the police stop you on a traffic stop. Do you agree?
Exactly. And now I know the big thing that's in the news right now is the situation that happened in Michigan. Just recap real quickly what happened in Michigan. I know that you studied it a little bit more.
Yeah. The Michigan police shooting that happened, the officer pulled him over for a bad plate on his vehicle. The driver ended up resisting arrest. He went for the officer's taser. The officer ended up shooting him in the back of the head as they were on the ground and killing the individual. That happened about 2 weeks ago.
And I know it's on the news, like on different channels, and they want the officer to be arrested, right?
Right. People are protesting right now. They want him arrested. They want justice.
Now, I'm not saying in general, even though I was a police officer, I'm very much of an advocate for people, an advocate even to having attorneys if there's a criminal case and you need a lawyer to represent you. I want the best for people in this very sad situation that took place in Michigan and other states in general. And I wanted to kind of go over what someone should do if they're getting stopped by the police. And, I want to share, it doesn't matter what the race or the religion of the officer. An officer is an officer in uniform, having a badge, and out there, trying to prevent criminal activity taking place to make everyone safe.
Right.
But for people, when they get pulled over, it's never a fun situation in general. Even if I was pulled over, I know my breathing can change and you're basically being frozen in time for that particular traffic stop. What should someone do when they get when they're being stopped by a police officer? What's the normal protocol where it's just nice and easy and smooth? Tell us a little bit the breakdown for a regular person.
I would say the biggest thing is you don't want to be a threat to the officer. Show any threat to the officer at all. Because an officer, the first thing in his mind is safety. So you want to make sure your hands are on the wheel. You don't want to really be digging in your glove compartment before the officer gets there. He doesn't know if you're going for a gun. I would put my hands on the steering wheel. As the officer approaches, he's going to ask you for your driver's license registration and say, officer, I'm going to reach into my glove box, get my license and registration. You don't want to ever be a threat to the officer or show a threat to the officer.
So the biggest thing is what you're doing is you're just giving your information. Do you believe that you should say, hey, officer, what's the reason why I'm being pulled over?
I wouldn't. Most officers, I know I did, I would pull you over and say, hey, Mr. Colmar, I'm pulling you over because it's a 55 zone. I just clocked you doing 70. Did you realize you were going that fast? You know, would I admit guilt on a traffic stop? Probably not. I would have to hear what the officer had to say. But the thing is, compliant to the officer. Give them your license and registration, you know, compliant. We notice that these incidents turn bad when there's non-compliance, when they don't want to give their driver's license, they resist arrest. It's better to give your driver's license. If there's a problem that you feel with the officer, bring that up later at another time.
So the bottom line is that police officer pulls you over, license, registration, insurance. You're not admitting any type of guilt. You
Right.
provide the information to them. There's not much conversation. You don't even have to speak to the officer, right?
Right.
You could just say, I gave you my information. If they're going to give you a ticket, you know, they'll give you a ticket.
Right.
And then from there, you're going to be released and let go.
Right.
Now, some people get upset when they get stopped by the police. They want to interact and they want to argue and fight like, I wasn't speeding, I wasn't doing this.
Right.
Should they really be doing that on the side of the road of a highway or of a street?
No, it just causes problems. And the thing is, if you want to get out of the ticket, arguing about the ticket is not going to get you out of the ticket. It might get you more tickets. So my thing is just comply. If you don't like it, you don't feel you're speeding, that's why we have a traffic court. You just go to traffic court, get yourself an attorney, go to traffic court. That's the biggest thing. Fight the ticket. You cannot fight the ticket on that traffic stop because it's only going to make things worse. So if you feel the officer's wrong, best thing is fight the ticket.
All right, so going to court is the key.
Yes.
Not talking about it and getting into a major conversation with the police officer. And I think this goes with any way that you are in general, that you provide your information. You don't have to speak to the officer by just providing the information in general. If they ask you more questions, you have the right not to speak to the officer in general. You can just say, I provided my information, and that's it. You can sit there and wait for them to give you a ticket. You know, you could ask, are you giving me a ticket or not? Am I free to leave? And I think that's important, is just asking, are you free to leave? They may give you a ticket, they may not give you a ticket, but there's no reason to fight and be argumentative because the officer's going to give you a ticket no matter what.
Right.
And by arguing it, he's definitely like, oh my God, I'm not going to give you a ticket right now, right?
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't really happen in general.
Right.
And I think that if you ask me personally, whether you like the police or not, I think just being courteous and respectful is key.
Yes.
It is a government authoritative figure that's stopping you on the side of the roadway. And again, any of the issues that you have, you go to court. Now, how does it work in regards to that if you want to make a complaint against the officer because you feel like he's discriminatory or he made some type of remarks that you don't like? You're not going to do it there at the traffic stop. Where do you go for that? How do you make a complaint?
Now, I'm going to go by what my police department did. I'm sure Las Vegas Metro is the same way. You go down to Internal Affairs and you fill out a complaint form that you have to sign. Now, our police department made you notarize it because when you notarize something, you're serious. So they made you notarize it because it's saying that, hey, this is what the officer did. You file with Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs will do an investigation, and they will contact you afterwards to tell you how the internal investigation played out. We had ordinary citizens. They weren't police officers. That was our Internal Affairs. I don't know how Henderson was when you worked there.
So the bottom line is, if you want to make a complaint, you can do it. It's just
Yeah.
not being done there. If you ask for a supervisor, it's really not even a place to actually ask for a supervisor. If you're going to get the ticket, you can always make a complaint later, or you could always call 311, which is the non-emergency number.
Yes.
Ask to speak to a supervisor. You have the name of the officer, the badge number, on the ticket, and then you have everything that you need to do later. It's not like it's not trackable.
Right.
And these days, every officer is being filmed, whether it's on a dash cam or whether the camera is on the officer himself. So the bottom line is that we want people to remain safely, and we don't want it to have any problems like this thing happened in Michigan. There's no reason to escalate it. Like I said, whether you love the police or you hate the police, just be quick on the stop. Get a ticket if you get a ticket. Go to court. You can fight it. You can hire an attorney. If there's a problem, a complaint against the office, you can do that with Internal Affairs. Again, this is a great topic just to talk about so we can prevent people from having issues and preventing any type of deaths taking place with arguing with an officer
Sure.
on a public roadway in general, and we want to prevent this from happening in general. So we're going to take a quick break, a commercial break from our sponsor.
I taught Josh how to drive. The day he got his learner's permit, I took him right out on the freeway.
Yeah, I thought we were going to the school parking lot, but we jump on the freeway.
Took him onto the freeway in the fast lane. Look, I know accidents can happen,
But it didn't happen because my dad prepared me.
I prepared him. That's what I do.
Dad always prepared us. He taught us to watch out for the expected and the unexpected because they're both out there.
And that's the way it is.
That's how we roll.
The Richard Harris Law Firm, 444-4444.
Stand out from the noise. Podcasting is one of the great wonders to start creating content for your brand. At Sticky Pod Studios, you have a professional studio with audio and video podcasting capabilities to hit every angle of your market. We have in-house editors who are ready to create micro pieces of content from your podcast to post on social media as well. You come in, sit down, and we handle the tech. It's that simple. Visit our website or DM us on Instagram at Sticky Pod Studios. See you soon.
That was weird.
It happens all the time.
This is David Kohlmeyer. Welcome back to The Problem Solver. Today we're talking about interaction with the police, and we wanted to talk about the topic of impersonating a police officer that is trying to pull you over on a traffic stop. And I wanted to talk about that with Danny, who's my co-host today. Danny, what's your thoughts in regards to someone trying to pull you over that is not a police officer? They're trying to impersonate a police officer, and they're trying to pull you over. Have you heard this taking place over the last 27 years when you were a police officer?
Dave, I did. We actually had a guy in my jurisdiction that was pulling people over and sexually assaulting women. He was actually pulling them over, like putting the lights on. What he did was he bought an old police car. And he actually got one of the red lights to put in the front, and he would throw that light on and pull women over. And he was arrested for it. He was sexually assaulting them. So it is definitely a concern. Hey, my girlfriend, I have 2 daughters. I get concerned about them also. The best thing to do is if somebody was pulling you over and you're not sure it's a police officer, I would go to a lighted area. I'd put my hazard lights on. I would drive very slow, and I would call 911 and say, listen, I don't know if this is a police officer pulling me over. I'm at Walmart's parking lot. I'm wherever I am. I would go to a lighted area. And that's what I would tell people. That's what I tell my kids, my daughters, to do if they get pulled over by somebody they're not sure is a police officer. Well, you were a local cop here, Dave. What would your strategies be here?
You know, we're here a little bit different in Las Vegas and Henderson, North Las Vegas. What I always say is there's local casinos, like the station casinos that are nearby. So I really recommend that if you really feel nervous that you're not sure that it's a police officer, that you can drive to one of the local casinos that are normally right off the highway, put your hazard lights on, which I like, and then from there you can call the police, which I'm not sure if people know, but 911 is emergency. 311 is not emergency, but they go to the same person that's a dispatcher in the city. And there's different cities here, right? There's city of Las Vegas, city of Henderson, city of North Las Vegas. That dispatcher will talk to you and say, look, you can say, I'm driving and I'm unsure who's behind me. I'm really nervous and I'm driving. I put my hazard lights on. I could stay on the phone with you. You could stay on the phone with dispatch. They'll ask for a description, where you're going and so on. And then they could actually verify, where your location is. They'll say, is there an officer? They'll go through the police dispatch. Say, is there an officer that's driving, westbound on the 215 by Green Valley? They'll confirm. They'll say that is a real officer. If you still feel nervous, I would head to a local station casino. Pull into the valet area, which is very, very well lit. There's security personnel, there's valet personnel that's there. And then you're going to feel safer because it's a very well lit area and there's someone that's normally out in that area. So God forbid it's not someone, real, and you're nervous, at least that someone's going to be out there most likely to help you, or it will scare away the bad guy who's making believe that he's a police officer.
Right.
And if it's a real officer, it is what it is. You weren't trying to evade. You're not going 150 miles per hour. So an officer should understand, especially if you're communicating with dispatch, what exactly that you're doing. Like, you should be okay. Look, I was just nervous, And it's okay to feel that way because there are some people throughout the United States where they get some of these unmarked, police cars that are sold in the auction.
Right.
They look very much, they still have I think it should be taken off, but they have the spotlights that are still left on.
Yes.
Some of the labels kind of like are on there a little bit, they take it off, but it's not totally off.
Right.
So to the average person, you really don't know, right?
Right. And Dave, I don't know. I'm assuming your police department bought your badges, but our police department buy us our own wallet badge. You could buy them off Galls. Anybody could buy a badge. If you think about it, they can get a fake badge that they can buy. So people can buy them. So just because the officer shows you a badge doesn't mean it's a legit badge.
Correct. So you got to be careful no matter where you are in general. So I said, I think the casino is important. Now, some people will know the fire station that's near their home.
Right.
Sometimes the firemen are not outside, but at least that it's definitely this video recording taking place. You could drive up to a fire station and beep your horn. Someone's going to come out. People are there.
Of course.
It's a fire station. It's filled with firemen.
Right.
So I think the goal is to get to a local spot that's going to, people that are there to help you. And then from there, again, calling the police, which we just talked about in general. Any other suggestions in regards to this? I mean, you could always stay inside your car.
Right.
You could put your window down a little bit in general until they identify who you are.
Right.
And one thing to point out, I guess, which I just forgot as well, is that police officers should have identification with them.
Right.
So if you really want it, they're required, right? Probably in every state to have their police identification with their photo, that they should be able to show it.
Yes.
And I know that I've been to people's homes where they say, can I see your police ID? And I would take it out and show it to them. And of course, there are people that can be impersonating and getting fake ID and police ID in general. So we're not here to scare people in general, but we want to make sure people are aware that you can do things in general to protect yourself if you really feel, it's not a police officer and someone's really trying to impersonate. So you do have rights. You can do things to prevent things from happening. It is rare, but it has taken place in Las Vegas. Over the 20 years I've been here, I think I've heard of 1 or 2 different cases, so it does happen. Anything else that you want to share in regards to that topic?
No, I think the ID is perfect. I mean, in my police department I worked for, they gave me a police department ID, but we also had the municipal training place that overseen all municipal police officers in Pennsylvania. So they overseen all of us, and they actually certified us, and they also gave us a certification ID. So we actually had 2 identifications, one from the Municipal Police Training Center and one from the police department that you were organized with.
Again, if there's any issues like this, I have no problem talking with anybody in general. I mean, people that want to speak with myself as a retired police officer and a problem solver, I have no problem talking to anybody about these different topics, about interaction with the police as well.
Right.
I had a phone call the other day where someone came to their home at 11 o'clock at night and a police officer was ringing the doorbell. They didn't want to come to the front door, which they didn't have to. Right. And it was late at night in general. They talked through the ring doorbell and they said, hey, how could we help you? And the police officer was asking them to come to the front door. Now the police officer looked like he was in uniform. I didn't see the police car, through the video camera in general that they had. They showed it to me saying, hey, did we do it okay? And I actually thought they did a really good job in general by saying, look, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm in my pajamas. What they could say is, which they didn't say, is that, officer, can you please leave your business card? I'll call you in the morning. I can meet you at the police station. So if you don't want to open up your door, I mean, if there's no search warrant and stuff like that, you don't have to open the door. But the officer could leave his card. Right. They could also call 311, the non-emergency number, to confirm and verify. You could also have said, hey, can you take your police ID and put it next to the camera so I can see who you are? These days, a lot of people love the ring doorbell, right?
Sure.
They could showcase it to the video, verify who they are, because maybe they don't see the police patch. They're unsure in general. They also could ask, what's your badge number, right? So you could say, the officer would say, I'm badge number 4612. So you can get a lot of information these days, even if an officer comes to your front door and you're unsure who they are and it's late at night. So these things do happen. So what I want to do is basically encourage the public that you have rights. You don't have to, do certain things if you feel unsafe, because sometimes you don't know who that person is.
Right.
And the bottom line is don't be intimidated just because you see a badge and you're really unsure, because these things happen.
Yeah. So
I want people in the community to be safe, because you just never know in general. So anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I want to talk about a little bit of prevention of DUIs so people don't get arrested in Las Vegas. My goal is really to prevent recidivism and to prevent arrests. So we'll be back in a quick minute.
A lot of lawyers who advertise here don't even live here. If they say Nevada, they're not from around here. If they think our capital is Las Vegas, they're not from around here. I'm Richard Harris, and I am from Nevada. I grew up here, I went to school here, I raised my family here. No one knows Nevada like we do. If you've been injured, call me, Richard Harris, of the Richard Harris Law Firm. 444-4444, just in case.
Looking good and sounding good has never been more simple. At Sticky Paws Studios, we strive to make it as easy as possible to reach your audience. Our state-of-the-art podcasting facility enables you to come in, sit down, and speak to your audience. We handle the tech. It's that simple. Visit our website or DM us on Instagram at Sticky Paws Studios. We'll see you soon.
Better shift down, because they're hard to miss. Those guys up there on the billboard. There they are again, just around the bend. Those guys up there on the billboard.
If you've been injured in an accident with a big truck, call the Richard Harris Law Firm.
No one takes on big rigs and gets bigger wins than us. Call 444-4444.
Back off the pedal, don't want to have to settle with those guys up there on the billboard.
Hey, it's David Kohlmeyer. Welcome back to The Problem Solver with my host here today, Danny Miner. We're talking about interaction with the police. We spoke a little bit about impersonation of a police officer and what to do for prevention to make sure people are safe in the community, God forbid someone that's out there. One of the last topics I want to talk about the show is how do we prevent DUIs from taking place, because it's such a big deal in Las Vegas. There's so many people getting arrested for DUIs today. And this week we had the NFL, 200,000 people. I'm sure arrests are up for DUI. I'm hoping and praying that there's not going to be a lot of death that takes place with people drinking and driving, because in Vegas, right, everyone's giving alcohol for free. The local casinos are giving for free. No one's testing people on the way out of the casino to make sure they could drive safely, which is a good topic. So what are your thoughts? Because how do we, you're from Pennsylvania. How do we prevent DUIs out here in Las Vegas?
Well, I mean, you got a city that is entertainment. Everybody likes to go out and have drinks. We all do. But the biggest thing you got to think about is just taking that extra drink and getting in that car. You not only could ruin somebody else's life by killing them, you're going to ruin your own life, your family's life, everything, because you're going to be in jail for 10 years if you kill somebody in a DUI. And there's no excuse for DUIs, not with Lyft, Uber. There's so many options for you that, that's going to cost you 10, 20 bucks. Even if you're going to Summerlin from the Strip, it's going to cost you 25 bucks. It's 25 bucks that could save your life and somebody else's life. And it's just not worth it, Dave. There's so many options out there. There's no way you should drive drunk right now. No way.
It's interesting. Sometimes you see some of the police cars. I'm not sure if you've seen them, where there's it's more for education and prevention, where they show half of it's the police car and half it's a taxi cab.
Right.
And it says it's $10 for a taxi cab or $10,000 to hire an attorney to fight your DUI and go to jail. So I always find that interesting because it's supposed to be prevention nature by seeing it. The goal really is, being retired cops, I think that both of us, our goal is to prevent DUIs, to prevent accidents and injuries and death from taking place in our community. Because like I said, we both have family and kids here.
Sure.
I have 3 kids, little ones in general. So I want to prevent from them getting hurt. And there's so many car accidents, so many injuries that are taking place. It's scary. It really is scary.
Yes.
Especially for my children. And I want to prevent that. So I agree with you in regards to rideshare, Uber, and all that other stuff. I do believe, one of my creative suggestions is, and I want to send this to Uber and Lyft, is that there should be a button where that if you want to hire an Uber Lyft driver to bring another Uber Lyft driver to drive home that car, even if it's a few extra dollars, because I think a lot of people sell themselves that, hey, I think I can drive. I only had 1 drink. I'm not intoxicated, but I don't want to leave my car here because now I got to spend money the next day to come back here to go pick up my car. So I think people sell themselves psychologically that, hey, I'm okay to drive. I'm only 2 blocks away or something like that. And most accidents happen very close to their home.
Yeah.
So my main thing is I think that Uber and Lyft should be offering some type of service where it comes with another driver and it just helps you bring the car home. Because once you feel better, you wake up in the morning, your car's there, or you have to go to work.
I think that's a great idea. Honestly, that is the best idea I've heard, because most people say, I don't want to leave my car here. What if it gets stolen? What if it gets vandalized? Especially now, catalytic converters being cut off cars. So people don't want to leave their cars. I think if Uber and Lyft did that, it would be perfect. Even if they charge an extra $10, people would do it. Their car's safely home. You're safely home. I think it's a great idea.
One of the problems is that I know there's nonprofits that are out there to do this thing, but who's remembering the nonprofit? If you had a local bar and you had 2 drinks, you think, what's that nonprofit number, right?
Right.
And nobody even knows 311, which is the non-emergency number, right?
Right.
Which you could probably call 311. You probably could say, I'm here at a bar and I need some help. They would actually call a taxi cab or someone like that. Or, it'd be very interesting. I wonder if they probably know the nonprofit of who they can call. But who's really calling 311, the police, when you have 2 drinks and you think you shouldn't be driving, home?
Right.
But I really do think that Uber Lyft, and I think that we need to send something to Uber Lyft, and maybe this video, being on TV, of a creative idea to help people in our society, because I think we actually really could save lives if Uber and Lyft did that. Because right now, everybody's on Uber Lyft and the rideshare apps, and I think that that's one way of preventing death from taking place. So I think that we need to somehow notify them in regards to it, or making that happen.
That would be awesome.
In regards to DUIs in general, what do you think it normally costs in regards to, I know that you work with different law firms, what do you think it normally costs in regards to hiring an attorney in general?
Well,
maybe there's a little bit of prevention by scaring people.
This is perfect. And I was just going to bring this up. I'm glad you brought the topic up. After I was a cop for 27 years, I did work for a criminal defense attorney for 3 years. The average price of a DUI is $5,000. Now, people will hear $5,000. That's to plead you guilty. That's to plead you guilty. If you want to fight the DUI, it's going to cost you $15,000, $20,000. Okay?
You mean going to trial?
Yeah, going to trial. If you're going to say, hey, I'm not guilty, I'm going to fight this DUI, you're looking at $15,000, $20,000. Just to plead guilty, it's going to cost you an average of $3,500 to $5,000. That's not counting what the court's going to fine you. That's not counting how you're going to get to work because your license is suspended. DUI is just a big problem. Take an Uber and a Lyft. Save yourself some problems.
Now, here's what I will share. Some people do suffer from mental illness. People have different issues. The goal is, of course, not to have any issues. But if you have an issue and you do get arrested, one of the things with the Problem Solver Show that we actually do work with the Las Vegas Legal Network, which is a network of different attorneys. My goal, even though I'm very pro attorney and an advocate for lawyers, My goal is I don't want people to be sitting in jail for 6 months if they have a problem with alcohol and they need to go to AA or they need rehab. I'd rather get people into programs to help them, because even if you get arrested and you're out 24 hours later, if you have a drinking problem, you could start drinking more now because you just went to jail. You're upset and depressed about the situation. You're going to wind up back in, getting another DUI, which has happened. I've heard,
yes.
Right? I'm sure you've probably seen it, like a DUI first, a DUI second. And then I'm not sure if people know this, but in this state, a DUI third is a felony within 7 years. So we do have lawyers with the Las Vegas Legal Network where they'll help people, but the goal is to get them into a rehab, and they do offer free strategy sessions and free consultations. But the goal with the Las Vegas Legal Network is to get them to the right attorney, the right lawyer, in order to prevent them from going to jail for 6 months and to get them rehab so it doesn't happen again.
Right.
And the goal with the legal network specifically for criminal defense cases is to prevent recidivism by getting people the help that they need so they don't get arrested again and they don't kill someone like we have that takes place in Las Vegas. And recently, over the last few months, we've had that happen in general. So again, if any of the viewers and listeners basically that are out there on the show, please, even if you want to send an Uber Lyft to a friend or pick someone up at 3 a.m, you really could be helping out your friend or a family member and also preventing from someone getting hurt. The Problem Solver has an app, which is the problemsolver.vegas. There's going to be a QR code that's on your screen as well. You can scan the QR code. You can add the app to your phone and to your desktop. And if you have any issues whatsoever that I can help you as the problem solver or other problem solvers that I work with, other attorneys and other resources, our goal is to basically help people in regards to this. So every single week, the goal is to help people with different communities come up with different creative ideas and suggestions to make things happen, to prevent crime and to prevent from death and injury from taking place in the community of Las Vegas, Henderson and North Las Vegas. So again, Danny, I really appreciate you being on the show today and talking about this valuable topic. Hopefully people will learn stuff from this and maybe even scare some people for drinking and driving. And any last thing that you want to say to people that are listening?
Listen, just get a plan and get home safely. Call an Uber, call a Lyft. You're saving your life. You're saving other people's lives.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'm Dave Coleman, the Problem Solver, every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Here we are talking about different problems, helping people. Thursdays at 4:30 on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook. We have an hour long of the YouTube topics. So again, I'm David Coleman, the Problem Solver. I'll see you next Tuesday, and be safe.
Over 40 years ago, I started the Richard Harris Law Firm right here in Nevada. And today we've grown to be the largest personal injury firm in the state. We got there by doing one thing. If there's a win, we're right in the middle of it.